How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Set 6, and today's video is a bit of a follow-on from a previous video. So I did the Timeline Turmoil video the other week, where I kind of discussed whether or not Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the remake project in general was one timeline, two timelines, 42 timelines, however many timelines you believe it is. And one of the things that I kind of touched on in that video was what's going to happen to Cloud going forwards in Rebirth, because there's quite a few possibilities for how things could pan out for Cloud at the minute, and it all kind of relies on what Sephiroth's goals are, because Cloud is obviously a massive part of whatever plan Sephiroth has. He was in the original game eventually, you know, he became integral to Sephiroth getting the Black Materia, and I believe yet again, Cloud is going to be the thing that allows Sephiroth to get his own way. I mean, if we're being completely honest, in Remake, he already is. He's the one that kind of leads the charge against the Whispers and everything like that. They defeat Fate, and they allow Sephiroth to remake the timeline. So Cloud's already done a part of what Sephiroth needs, but I don't think that's going to be the end of it, and the trailers that we've seen so far for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth suggest to me that that's not going to be the end of it. So that's the topic of today's video. We're going to dive into it, we're going to discuss Cloud Strife, we'll touch on Zack a little bit, you know, we will come to Zack slightly, but there's going to be a separate video regarding Zack, and obviously Sephiroth's going to be involved in this quite a bit. So hit that like button, subscribe for future content, share the video, get more people involved in the channel, but let's get to it. So when it comes to Cloud, in my mind there are about 4 possibilities for the way this could go, and there's a bit of overlap between these possibilities here and there, but the kind of 4 different avenues. Now the first possibility is that Sephiroth just wants Cloud out of the way. And the obvious reason for this is that every time Sephiroth tries to do something, Cloud seems to pop up and just stop him. Just gets in the way, meddles with whatever plans he has. The first time this happens is quite obviously at Mount Nibel and the Nibelheim reactor and everything that goes down there. The next time it happens is when Sephiroth has summoned Meteor using the Black Materia. Aerith's tried to use Holy, and Jenova and Sephiroth's will restrain Holy in the livestream, and it's because of Cloud and the party coming along and defeating Sephiroth and defeating Jenova that allows Holy to do its thing and stop Meteor. So, yet again, Cloud steps in and defeats Sephiroth. And then finally, we have the events of Advent Children, where Sephiroth uses the remnants to manifest himself and come back to the world, and Cloud sends him back to being a memory. Or at least, he hoped. So Sephiroth, if this is still a Sephiroth with knowledge of the future, or who sent his consciousness back from the future, which is still all kind of up in the air, but let's just say he at least knows what goes down, he knows that Cloud is a problem. And if he just gets rid of Cloud, he potentially gets rid of all of his problems. Now, do I think this is going to be the case? Probably not. But it is a possibility. I've got to put it out there as a possibility. I don't think it'll happen, A, because it's quite boring, and B, because I think Sephiroth's a little bit more adventurous than that. I feel like, if anything, Sephiroth would rather control Cloud than get rid of him. Which takes us to the next possibility, because in the original game, Sephiroth at multiple points controls Cloud and kind of puppets him into doing exactly what Sephiroth wants. Be that giving him the Black Materia, be that attacking Aerith. He does it a couple of times. Could we see a more expanded version of this control over Cloud? I mean, we could see just exactly the same as we've seen previously, where in certain moments he can exert some degree of control of Cloud's will and make Cloud do something in the short term. But we could potentially see something a little bit more long term as well, where he perhaps fully breaks Cloud's psyche, as I discussed in the previous Timelines video. If Cloud and Zack come face to face at any point, it's probably going to break Cloud. Let's be honest, it's probably going to break him. It's probably going to have a bit of an effect on Zack as well, but it would probably break Cloud, which would leave him easy pickings for Sephiroth. And that means we could see much more control being exerted over Cloud than we saw in the original game. We could see Cloud doing even bigger things. We could see Cloud even attacking party members under the control of Sephiroth. We could see anything happen, and that is definitely a possibility. But again, I feel like it's not adventurous enough for our Sephiroth. I just don't think it's adventurous enough. I think the next two, and don't get me wrong, I think Cloud as a puppet is a strong possibility, but I kind of feel like there might be a bit more to it, and that's where these next 2 suggestions kind of come in. The first of these is that Sephiroth doesn't necessarily want Cloud, but instead wants to use Cloud as bait in order to get at somebody else. Now, there's only really two possibilities for who he'd want to get at, maybe three, but those main possibilities are Zack and Aerith. I think possibly Tifa, so that he uses Cloud to get at Tifa and take out the possibility of Cloud restoring his mindset. But if we're going to have Zack and Cloud maybe bumping into each other, that kind of goes out the window anyway. So yeah, I'm not too sure that would make much sense if he was trying to get at Tifa. I've seen some people theorising that maybe Sephiroth takes Tifa out in order to get rid of the possibility of Cloud completely recovering his psyche, and to get rid of that proof to Cloud that he actually existed in Nibelheim. But Cloud getting the truth of everything that happened in the Nibelheim incident, and the fact that he was just kind of like a Shinra grunt rather than a soldier, all of that information would potentially bring Cloud back to his normal self. So killing Tifa doesn't really make sense there. And in the same breath, using Cloud as bait for Aerith doesn't really make sense there, because Sephiroth knows that he can get access to Aerith if he needs to. He's already done that before. If he's got memory of these events, he can potentially make it happen again. Aerith is potentially going to go to the City of the Ancients still in order to try and summon Holy regardless. So yeah, Sephiroth would probably still be able to get his access. He'd still be able to control Cloud and puppet him in the way that he did in the OG. I think if he's using Cloud as bait, it's going to be most likely to get at Zack. And he could have two shots at it as well, to be fair, because we don't know what has happened to the Cloud that we see Zack walking into Midgar with. I mean, we can assume that he's dead, because the timeline seems to have balanced itself out, and the party were existing twice in the timeline, so one group of them had to die in order for the other one to continue. And maybe the Whispers have done similar with Cloud. You can't have two Clouds existing, so the one that Zack has with him is killed off, and the Cloud that's with the party continues. That's a possibility as well. And if that's the case, it has got rid of the Cloud that was with Zack. Sephiroth could just quite easily bait Zack by going, oh look, Cloud's over here. And we all know that Zack could just go running like the stupid puppy that he is. Like, oh Cloud, how's it going, mate? How's it going? So yeah, that'd be a nice easy thing to do. But then it comes to the point of why. Why would Sephiroth want to bait Zack? Now, quickly before I jump into the final point here, there is a possibility that the Cloud that's with Zack in the past, or that came through the timeline, or whenever, whatever happened, wherever, whenever, but there's a possibility that that Cloud survives. And if that's the case, there's a possibility that Sephiroth maybe takes that Cloud and turns him into the hooded Cloud that we see in the trailer. And that could be what Zack's chasing. Zack is still trying to rescue Cloud and protect Cloud. So that could work both ways, that Sephiroth's using Cloud as bait for Zack. The difficulty with this is that we don't know how or why Zack has survived. We don't know what the mechanic is behind it. Or at least not so much the mechanic behind it, but the person, the will behind it. Was it the will of the planet? Was it the will of the Whispers? Was it the will of Sephiroth? Or was it just an accident? We don't know. And that makes it a little bit problematic. I could go assuming that Sephiroth is using Cloud as bait for Zack, when Sephiroth might not even know that Zack has survived. He might have no idea whatsoever what's going on with Zack, and therefore, why would he be baiting him? So yeah, it's a little bit tough. We kind of need to get a few more answers on that, but it is a possibility, so I figured I'd throw it out there. And then that brings us to the reason why Sephiroth would want to bait Zack. And it kind of feeds into the final possibility with Cloud as well. Now, all the way through Final Fantasy VII Remake, Sephiroth's been toying with Cloud, messing with Cloud, baiting Cloud, trying to get Cloud to do what he wants him to do. And all along, he's encouraging Cloud's hatred. He wants Cloud to hate him as much as possible. He keeps teasing him and goading him, like right at the start of the game, when we've just done the first bombing mission, everything's on fire, and Sephiroth pops up out of nowhere and just starts goading him about, like, his mother dying and Nibelheim burning down, and just trying to encourage that hatred that Cloud has got towards Sephiroth. And there's got to be a reason behind it. Now, one possibility is that he's trying to weaken his psyche, which would feed into one of the previous possibilities that I put out there, you know, where he wants to puppet him and take control of him and that sort of thing. And if that's his target, he's doing a cracking job so far. Good show, Sephiroth. Good show. But what if there's a bigger reason to it rather than just wanting to use Cloud as like a little toy that he can whip out every now and again and get to go and do his bidding? What if he wants more than that? Multiple times in Remake we saw Sephiroth take control of one of the reunion cloaks, the black cloaks. We saw him take control of them and the body take his form. And then Sephiroth would go about doing his business. That seems to be how Sephiroth's operating now. But what if he wants something a little bit more permanent? Now, I remember speaking about this in a video about a year and a half ago, something like that. And one of the possibilities in that video was that Sephiroth, rather than looking to use Cloud, just wanted to fully take over Cloud and consume him. Because that would kind of fill the criteria of a couple of the previous possibilities that we've already gone over in this video. He would still be able to use Cloud as a puppet, except he would be in direct control. He would be that puppet at that point. And it also takes Cloud out of the picture as well. Gets rid of him from the scenario, so he doesn't have to worry about Cloud because he's dealt with that and he's got Cloud's body now. So that's the end of that. So it ticks multiple boxes regarding what Sephiroth needs / wants to do regarding Cloud. It gets rid of him, it gives him that puppet, etc, etc. But at the same time, based on the mechanics that we've already seen of Sephiroth taking over the cloaked figures, I don't know if it had been a benefit to him, because it always seemed to me like when he took over one of the cloaked figures, his attributes were kind of overlaid on that body. So if he takes control of Cloud's body, would it not just become Sephiroth? In the same way that in Advent Children, the remnants just became Sephiroth? Possibly. I mean, I suppose it boils down to two things. Like, one, is there a more permanent way that Sephiroth can kind of take over a body? Is that a possibility for him? If it is, then fair enough, Cloud could be in danger there. And then the other question would be, if he does the usual and just transforms one of the Black Cloaks into himself, if he does that to Cloud, would the fact that Cloud is stronger than the Black Cloaks mean that the version of Sephiroth that we get would be stronger? I don't know if that's the case, because if that's the case, surely he would just immediately go and hunt out the strongest of the Black Cloaks. I mean, maybe that's what he's already done. He's already selected the ones that give him the biggest boost when he takes control of them, and he's used them as much as possible. Who knows? But I don't know if that's a thing. It's never been a thing before, so that'd be a new thing if it came in. So I don't really see the benefit to him using Cloud as a puppet in that manner over using any one of the other Black Cloaks. Like, he could use any of them and get the same result. So yeah, this one kind of relies on mechanics that we don't really know about, or Sephiroth finding a way to fully take over Cloud's body, get rid of his psyche, and just take over that body. That'd be the only possibility there. The way that Zack feeds into this as well is Cloud could be being used as bait to bait Zack in and get him close so that Sephiroth can then do the same thing and kind of take over his body. It's a bit of a weird one, this, because I've never really thought of it as a body snatcher type of thing. I've never really viewed it as something that Sephiroth could do. I've always viewed it more as control rather than taking over. I think that's probably the most likely of the routes that we go down. That Sephiroth probably takes control of them, but leaves their... I was about to say individuality, but he wouldn't have any of that. But he doesn't take direct control if he was to take over one of Cloud or Zack. I don't know. I do think it's a possibility, because if we look at the titling of the games, Final Fantasy VII Remake was all about Sephiroth remaking the timeline. That's what this was all about. It was all about Sephiroth remaking the timeline and taking control of his destiny. That's what he's trying to do. And we enabled it. Like, the party, Cloud, everybody, us, we let that happen. We made that happen. We didn't just let it happen, we made it happen. So we've already been controlled by Sephiroth up to this point. And I was looking at this titling wrong. I was looking at Rebirth as Sephiroth has been reborn, Zack has been reborn, and this is what we're dealing with now. But I don't think that's the case. I think Sephiroth is still looking to be reborn, potentially. Now, how that happens is kind of up in the air. And this is where using Zack or Cloud as a vessel gets a little bit more weight to it. Because there's every possibility that his body is still unusable. Like, we see in the original game that there's some remnants of his body kind of there in that giant crystal in the North Crater, but it's not a full body. And throughout the original game, it's constantly Sephiroth inhabiting Jenova's body, essentially, and taking the appearance of Sephiroth, but it's not actually his body. And throughout Remake, again, all we've seen is Sephiroth either taking control of one of the Black Cloaks, or, again, taking control of Jenova's body, and, like, manifesting himself that way. So maybe Sephiroth does want to be reborn, and in order to do that, he'll need a body to be reborn into. His body's probably still in that same state, in the Mako crystals, you know, kind of fossilized, but still kind of there in the North Crater. And he can't really use that, as we know, so that kind of doesn't leave many options. And out of the options that he's got, the two best choices probably are Cloud and Zack. So it's not a possibility that I want to rule out, it's not a possibility that I can rule out, and we already have it established in universe that Jenova kind of takes the form of other people and stuff like that. Maybe those powers go a step beyond and allow Sephiroth to be able to fully take control of somebody else and be reborn. I definitely feel like that's going to be Sephiroth's goal in Rebirth. Like, the goal is for him to be reborn into an actual body, I believe. Whether or not that's going to be his own or somebody else's, kind of up in the air. But if it is going to be somebody else's, and he needs that body in order to be reborn into, it's going to be Zack or Cloud. Like, I can't think of it being anybody else. Because you can't have both of them in the game consistently. Like, you can't have Cloud and Zack in the party at the same time. That just won't work. It'd be fun, don't get me wrong, but narratively it just kind of wouldn't work. Zack is going to end up being a replacement for Cloud in the same way that Cloud tried to be a replacement for Zack. That's kind of my take on it, that we're going to lose Cloud for a bit to Sephiroth. I've been saying it all along, that scene of Sephiroth and Cloud walking towards Mount Ebel, that is not the flashback. But yeah, we're definitely going to lose Cloud for a bit, and Zack will be the replacement. The roles will reverse, and that's what we'll get. But what that then leaves us with is, you kind of need to get rid of one of them. And that then kind of lends strength to the possibility of one of Cloud or Zack becoming a vessel for Sephiroth. Or maybe that's at least what the plan is for Sephiroth. Maybe he needs to get whoever it is to the North Crater, so that they've got a close proximity to Sephiroth's actual body, or the remains of it at least. Maybe that's something that he needs to do, and that's why he has to play this whole baiting kind of game. I don't know, but there's definitely something to it. The title Rebirth is extremely sus. The fact that Zack has survived kind of just demands that we're going to end up being in control of him at some point, and that he's going to catch up with the party at some point, given my belief that he is in the present day. It's all in the timelines video. Go check out the timeline video if you haven't already. But yeah, it kind of feels like we're going to get Zack taking over from Cloud at some point. That's going to happen 100%. But then the question is, why? What's going to be the purpose of it? It's either going to be because we've lost Cloud and just need to replace him, and in that situation, Sephiroth takes over Cloud, Cloud becomes Sephiroth, they become one. And just like Sephiroth wanted in those final scenes from Final Fantasy VII Remake, where he's asking Cloud to lend him his power, and then he fights him a little bit, and then he's like, not yet, you're not ready. That kind of energy. This is what Sephiroth has potentially been building up to all along. Like I say, it is possible that Zack's going to be the vessel, but I don't think that Sephiroth knows that Zack's alive, potentially. And I feel like Cloud's probably stronger than Zack, if we're being completely honest. If we look at everything that both of them did, I would say that Cloud is stronger than Zack. And then you add on top of that the already existing connection between Cloud and Sephiroth, where Sephiroth's existence is essentially bound to Cloud's existence. It's not looking good. It's all stacking up that Cloud could be in a little bit of danger here. Be it either in one of the previous suggestions that Sephiroth gets rid of him, or Sephiroth turns him into a puppet, or like in this suggestion where we see Sephiroth fully consuming Cloud and taking over him. Either way, whether the outcome for Cloud is one of these possibilities that I've outlined in this video, or if it's something else entirely, Cloud is going to be central to the story of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and beyond, as he was in the original game and the whole compilation. That's not going to change. But what could end up changing is Cloud himself. But yeah, I've rambled for over 20 minutes on this subject, I've just realised. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it there. I want you to drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen with Cloud going forwards in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? And what do you think Sephiroth's plans are? Because Sephiroth's intentions are at the very heart of pretty much every single burning question in the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, so Remake, Rebirth and beyond. And we don't really know anything. Like, we're assuming what his intentions are based on previous things that he's done in the past. Like, the biggest reach is possibly this using Cloud as a vessel theory. Like, this is a pretty big reach, because he's not really ever fully taken over anybody before. Not that I can recall. So it's a bit of a reachy one. I think it's more likely that he'll want to be reborn. But either way, Sephiroth's plans are at the heart of this. And that's what we need to figure out. What is Sephiroth's intention? What does he want? What's he trying to do? And why does he have to keep hurting my boy Cloud? Why? Like I say, leave your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think about any of these possibilities. Do you think we could see Cloud getting taken over? Do we think he's just going to be used as a puppet? Do you think we'll see Zack getting taken over? Do you think we'll control Zack instead of Cloud? Do you think we'll lose Cloud for a bit? There's loads of possibilities to talk about, so get your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe for future content, share the video, but more importantly than all of that, have a great day.